So Elon Musk has gone and done it. Elon Musk has appointed a new CEO to Twitter, a woman who is an executive chair for the World Economic Forum. And already you can see the backlash. I started thinking about this right away because we signed up recently to be a verified organization, and it costs over $1,000 a month for these corporate benefits that you get with Twitter. And I like them. I think they're good. You get prioritized reach, placement. You get to verify all of your employees. You get a gold badge. You get an affiliation badge along with verification if you work for the company. But who would I be if I told all of you to stop drinking Bud Light and then I kept paying a company that put an executive chair of the World Economic Forum on its C-suite as the chief executive officer? I think I'd be a hypocrite. So in the poll on this live show, I have asked you, should we, Timcast, remove our Twitter blue over the appointment of a World Economic Forum chief executive officer? So far, the poll as of the launch of this show is at about 66%. So we're going to talk a lot about that. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com. If you want to support the show, this is our company, our coffee company. We are sponsoring ourselves. You can join the Cast Brew Coffee Club. You get 3 bags of coffee every single month, and it's a discounted rate. You save about $5 or $6. But we also have several other blends like Rise with Roberto Jr., Appalachian Nights. Unfortunately, Rise with Roberto Jr. is sold out, but we'll be back very, very soon. So if you want to go to castbrew.com and support the show, please do so. Also, head over to timcast.com, click join us and become a member. If you would like to support us directly, you'll get access to our Discord server where you can hang out with like-minded individuals and watch the uncensored members-only show Monday through Thursday. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and a lot more is Tudor Dixon.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks for coming. Who are you? What do you do?
Well, I ran for governor in the state of Michigan. I have a podcast now, the Tudor Dixon Podcast, and we are working on what we can do to win elections. So that's the plan going forward.
Right on. I guess before we even get started, you got plans to run again?
Maybe someday.
All right.
I say maybe it's like pregnancy and then you forget and do it again.
There you go. So, okay. Well, thanks for hanging out. This should be a lot of fun. We already had a lot. We were talking a lot before the show started, and it was really good. So I'm excited. We got Phil Labonte hanging out.
How you doing? I am Phil Labonte, lead singer of All That Remains, anti-communist and counter-revolutionary, here with my good friend.
Hi, I'm Taylor Silverman. I'm a skateboarder, and I work on the show Cast Castle here at Timcast.
And Freedomistan.
And newly...
Yeah.
Coming soon, Freedomistan. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to make any announcements. You haven't
Oh, there
made
it
it
is.
again.
Yeah.
But I just recently did Tudor's podcast also, so it's really cool to meet you in person.
Yeah, it is. She was great, awesome, and we were very excited to have you because she's a Michigander too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So there's like a connection.
We're not too far either.
No.
Like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Right on.
What's up, everybody? It's Kellen. Fridays are the best days, as I always say. I'm ready to get started when you guys are.
All right, let's jump into this first story. We got this on Twitter itself from Elon Musk. He says, I am excited to welcome Linda Yaccarino as the new CEO of Twitter. Linda Yack will focus primarily on business operations while I focus on product design and new technology. Looking forward to working with Linda to transform this platform into X, the everything app. Okay, well, here you go. Here's I guess maybe I can shrink this so you can see it better. Apparently not. Well, you can see right here, World Economic Forum. This is from her LinkedIn. Executive Chair, January 2019 to present. I took a screenshot of this because I don't want to show the rest of her private details, but I think this is particularly relevant and publicly available. Yaccarino is the chairman of the World Economic Forum's task force on the future of work and sits on the WEF's Media, Entertainment, and Culture Industry Governors Steering Committee. She is also highly engaged with the Value in Media initiative. Immediately, I don't trust her. I like Elon Musk. I think he's doing a lot of really important things. I think SpaceX is one of the most important things humanity is doing, period. And I think him buying Twitter was already very, very good. But I think this is a huge mistake, if only because he has shattered confidence in the platform to the point where I have pulled up right now the Verified Org's subscription plan. And before I clicked deactivate our account, which would suspend payments to Twitter for the corporate benefits for Twitter Blue and verification, I decided to put a poll up, and it's already sitting at 70% saying, yes, we should terminate our subscription to Twitter over this. So I'm curious what you guys think.
I mean, I think that we have to be honest with who Elon Musk is. You know, we were talking about how we like to glob on to someone who we believe is a conservative because they agree with one of our values. And he's been very adamant that he wants free speech, but he's also a globalist. We know this. I mean, he's made that very clear. So we can't expect that Twitter is going to be this place that's not going to be leaning that way, or that he's not going to be leaning that way. So I think you have to do what you think is right for your company, and for your company, this is not where you are.
For obvious reasons, I'm not concerned about whether or not Elon's conservative, right? I argue with Seamus over abortion, but I think in the modern culture war, in our current culture war, the traditional pro-choice position is substantially closer to pro-life than the left's current position on abortion up to the point of birth, which is terrifying to me. So it seems like they're creating this. The culture war has created this perception that liberals and conservatives are almost the same thing because of how radically different they are. But if Elon Musk comes out and says, I'm going to give the libertarians, disaffected liberals, conservatives, the right to speak on this platform, we think it's a good thing. The issue for me is appointing this woman says to me, party's over, honeymoon's over, the censorship will slowly start creeping back in, and we are going right back to the beginning.
I think that, liberalism has a weakness in that it does take other philosophies at their face value as if they are honest. And right now, the woke mind virus, whatever you want to call it, the current popular brand of leftism is subversive. It's intentionally subversive. So if a liberal takes them at face value, you often end up with Motte and Bailey arguments. You often end up with all kinds of emotional arguments because the left doesn't fundamentally believe the same things that liberals do. Elon Musk is a liberal. He believes that open dialogue is always good. And I think that it is, but you have to understand that just because you're liberal, everyone around you is not liberal. Like people believe that they're liberal. Nowadays, there are people that will say they're liberal, and then they will go ahead and advocate for authoritarian type policies like, clamping down on free speech. You can't say this. You can't say that. You can't have this opinion. That's a bad thing. And I don't know if Elon is as aware as he needs to be of how dangerous and how intentionally subversive the left is nowadays. You can't take people like that at their word because they play with meanings, they play with definitions. And I think that if he's aware, it's possible that he could navigate that. But it's not easy because people like that will tend to find other people like that share their opinions, and they'll invite them in and hire them. And that's what happened in colleges and in education. That's why you have such a monolithic ideology coming out of colleges now.
Yeah. So I want to pull up this article from Vox.com. Who is Linda Yaccarino, Elon Musk's pick for the new Twitter CEO? And they mention that, here, let me just read this. It says, although Yaccarino is not vocal about her political beliefs, it is well known in the advertising community that she's conservative. According to several sources, she served on former President Donald Trump's Council on Sports and Nutrition, and many have noted that she likes and follows conservative accounts on Twitter. But she's also drawn flack from the right. Some of the more extreme right-wing Twitter influencer accounts have criticized her for praising diversity in the workforce and for being chair of the task force on the future of work at the World Economic Forum, which they view as an elitist organization. I mean, that's putting it lightly.
They view as, if you can't go to the meetings and just show up, it is.
Well, it's a globalist, secretive elitist. But if she's a conservative, is it a good thing? Is it a bad? Is her participation in the World Economic Forum disqualifying because we don't trust the World Economic Forum, the Davos Group, and their policies? What if she's actually a conservative, which means we're going to get more right-leaning or center-ish policies?
I think it calls for serious scrutiny. Serious scrutiny. I'm not ready to just swear off and say, screw off. It's time to go jump into the old bunker and expect the bombs to start falling in the end of the world. But it is completely reasonable to look at this person and say, look, your history and things that you've said in videos, I've seen clips and stuff that have been put up on Twitter already, things that she's said, she is very, very suspect. So scrutiny.
I guess the idea is she is well known in the advertising community. And so Elon's view most likely is that she's going to restore faith and bring for the advertisers and bring them back to the platform. But there's only one way you do that, and that's caving to woke nonsense.
How involved do you think he is at this point? I mean, you can get rid of a CEO. She's going to be tested. We're all going to make it known if we don't like her. I think it's going to be interesting because to be CEO, we shouldn't be judging. Are you conservative? Are you liberal? Are you a good manager of something like this? And this is a business. If she's managing it well, then it shouldn't be that she's going after people for their ideology. Now, I don't know if she is in the situation of being a chair of the World Economic Forum, if she's able to pull herself away from that and look at this from a business venture standpoint. Because if you're a good business person, the majority of businesses across the world do not look at things politically. We think they do because we see the Bud Lights of the world. But most companies are like, stay out of the political. Let's make a profit. Let's make it work.
Let me pull up this tweet from Billboard Chris, who responded to Elon Musk. He said, during her interview with you, she was most excited about your initiative to limit reach of tweets, which are deemed hateful, freedom of speech, not freedom of reach. In fact, that was her main selling point to the advertising execs in the audience, and she kept coming back to it. She went on to chastise you twice for tweeting after 3 a.m. because people are concerned about that sort of behavior. What? She also wanted advertising execs to be part of an influence council within Twitter. She's not here to improve the user experience. She wants Twitter to be a safe space. She represents advertisers, and her natural inclination is to limit speech and pander to those who push woke ideology on the world. You will have to watch her like a hawk. She was also thrilled to spend $100 million on social justice initiatives at NBC, and forwarded government authoritarian propaganda that the way back to a normal life was to wear your mask. No doubt she'll bring in advertising revenue in the short term, but she's a long-term mistake. Elon responded and said, I hear your concerns, but don't judge too early. I am adamant about defending free speech, even if it means losing money. Well, I'm going to put it this way. I believe the preliminary view with her resume is that I should not be giving Twitter any money. And if she then proves she's doing right by the company, then I'll give the company money. So I've already given Twitter some money, signing up for the verified organizations in Twitter Blue for the company. It's relatively expensive. Bringing this woman on, I feel is a very big risk. I don't want to fuel any more of this ESG woke garbage. If this woman works the World Economic Forum, which is a major proponent of this stuff, I am going to limit my giving them money. Maybe in a couple months, I will revisit the prospect of signing back up if she's doing a good job. But this is, I feel like it's, whether it's a betrayal of trust or not is irrelevant. I feel like it's just advertisers leave. Elon says we got to make money. I say, don't worry. I'll give you money, Elon. I believe in what you're doing. He then says, okay, welcome the World Economic Forum chair on the future of work. And I say, oh, okay, well, now I don't know what you're doing. And I don't know if I believe in it. I don't want to give these people money.
Well, okay, so let's go a little deeper on the advertisers leaving thing, because why are advertisers leaving anything that is considered conservative, and why are we allowing these threats? And I think that
activists.
But they're getting them deplatformed, debanked, all of these things. And so why are we, I see politicians going after individual businesses, and I say, why aren't we going after these people that are debanking, the banks that are debanking? Why aren't we making this illegal? Instead of going after case by case and trying to hit the business, go after the source of the problem and stop that from happening. So we don't end up having people go, I'm going to hire somebody that I think can get marketer, that I think can get advertisers, because advertisers are so finicky. Why are they finicky? Because we are allowing this bullying system that is really stopping people from being able to bank. I mean, if you debank someone, they're toast.
Yeah.
So where are all of the politicians that are going, well, we can't allow this to continue happening?
I think the debanking stuff is a sign that there's going to be some kind of serious financial crash, and they're trying to do everything to push everyone towards digital currencies, and they want a central bank digital currency. And I was actually listening to some guy talk about, there's this, Apple just announced this bank account with 4% interest. And I'm hearing everybody be like, I have to set one of those things up. 4% interest. That's huge. I mean, inflation's way worse than that if you're tracking the real numbers. But 4% is big for a savings account. And so now I'm hearing that this is causing an upset in the financial industry, to a certain degree at least. I'm not a financial guy. I don't know for sure. But that Why get a CD at 3.8 or 4% if a savings account with Apple is better and you don't got to wait for it to mature or whatever? And so we're seeing stuff like that. And I don't know what that really means. All I know is I see people saying they're concerned about it. We're seeing banks collapse. We're seeing debanking. And I'm wondering if the big move is going to be get everybody onto digital currencies. Big collapse happens. Central bank digital currency gets launched.
I can't say whether or not that's the actual plan, but I know that nowadays there are a lot more options for people when it comes to banking. Financial technologies have really taken off. Things like Bitcoin showed that digital types of currencies can actually work. And so obviously you see banks that exist coming up, and companies now, obviously with Apple doing it with offering bank accounts or whatever, you're going to see more innovations in the financial technology sector unless the government completely shuts it down. So I don't know that they're going to, but I would expect without a central bank digital currency, I would expect more options and more possibilities for people to come from the private sector, because that's what happens.
But what does that mean as you stretch money across those different areas? If you have so many different options, then how does anything stay stable? Because if you take money out of banks, then banks are not stable. So you have to look at this and say, well, somebody has to kind of say, well, there has to be some control so that everything's not crashing.
You're talking to a libertarian here kind of dude. So I'm like, no, just straight up no. Like I think that there are tons of options for ways to save your value, things that you have, whether it be money or whether it be Bitcoin, different cryptocurrencies. There's a ton of different, currencies in the world that people can say, I think these are better than dollars for whatever crazy reason they come up with. You can buy gold, you can buy silver. There's already so many different ways to store currency and save value. Just a few more banks or more options that are now new technologies. I don't think that's any kind of significant problem. I don't think it's a problem at all. I think that's something that we can handle. I mean, most people that have a significant amount of wealth, it's usually in stocks. Or frequently in stocks and stuff like that, in owning companies. So I don't know that it needs to be controlled by the Federal Reserve. I think that the markets will control that kind of stuff. So that's just my take.
Back to Twitter for a second. Do you think we're going to see a lot of people stop paying for Twitter to at least give it some time to see how it plays out? Or do they want that blue check really bad?
No, I think that I don't know. It'll be interesting because for some people, I think it's their business and they feel like that's a service they subscribe to. And so maybe they'll watch and see. And then I think that once they see the first signs of what you're concerned about, that's when you'll see people just immediately drop. And go ahead.
I was going to say, I think maybe that's the appropriate response. Instead of just canceling everything outright, basically just saying to Elon, my view is this is thin ice, and if we see one bad move, like we're skittish, we are running. But for the time being, I really want to believe. I really want Elon to succeed in this endeavor. And if the issue is he's looking at the bottom line like we need advertisers, and this woman worked in the Trump administration, I'm like, okay,
She was in the Trump administration?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, Trump picked.
Well, that's what people are saying, right?
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That's why I'm like, I don't know.
I think that you have to think of it from
She's a known Trump supporter, according to Vox.
So you would think that doing this, you would be very careful not to immediately make changes and make a lot of people mad, because you saw what just happened with Bud Light. I mean, they literally are giving a $15 rebate right now with every case you buy.
Are they really?
Yeah. It's a disaster for them. But if that's the reaction, why would they take the chance of everybody dropping their subscription? Which I mean, obviously this happened with big corporations just recently, so it's quite possible. But like you said, I think that you wait and you see. If this is what happens, then conservatives are not going to hesitate. They've made that clear now. We're just done with this woke stuff. If you're going to do it, we're out.
My favorite thing about Twitter since Elon took over is that he has brought back freedom of speech to an extent, which I think a lot of people value, and that's not necessarily a conservative value. It's pretty crazy that people think that is now. And Billboard Chris's remarks, like talking about what she said, freedom of speech, not freedom of reach. I wonder what is deemed hateful? Like, who's defining that? The
big play for the left is to argue that free speech is conservative so that they can make anything they don't like right wing, and then anything. So right means bad, left means good.
Yep.
So from now on, I'm just going to call them right wing. It's like and I'm going to say it's always been the right that was anti-free speech.
Free speech is like the
Yeah, you're right.
ultimate rebel move.
Yeah, so they're all far right.
Well, if you're not on the left, you're far right extremist. Even if you're on the left and you say one thing out of line, you're a far right extremist now.
It doesn't take very much to step out of line on the left.
Oh yeah, you just got to call them far right. Although left and right are relatively meaningless these days. It just means like which tribe are you in? But that's what they try to do. And then how do you fight back against that? When you say I'm for free speech, well then you're conservative. The argument they're making is free speech is a traditional position and banning hate speech is the progressive position.
Right.
Yep.
So you are old and archaic if you support the old way of doing things.
But it's also helpful to not teach history. So we just saw that the proficiency in history is at the lowest levels in the United States ever. So if you don't know what happens when you ban speech, if you don't know that people were, killed or kept in prison because they went against the king, then you don't know why the founding fathers were so adamant that we had to be able to say whatever we want, even if they don't like it, even if it's burning the American flag, even if it's something that seems so awful. They want you to be able to say it because once you start to, it's a slippery slope. Once you start to take it away, then everybody, it'll hurt them too. That's the funny thing. It will hurt them too.
I feel like conservatives have become liberal in the literal sense of things. Like liberals are far left extremists. Well, not really. Most of them are just ignorant. But then there's a lot of people who are quote unquote liberal who are actually far left. And then conservatives are adopting liberal positions. So conservatives saying something like, well, if it's your flag, you can burn it. Whereas conservatives used to say you shouldn't be allowed to burn the flag. Trump and many other Trump supporters still said you should not be allowed to desecrate the flag. But a lot of conservatives are adopting more libertarian positions or classically liberal positions. And I think that's one of the intentions of the left is to force conservatives leftward, right? So they make the wheel rotate. The far left becomes moderate and conservatives become fringe. Then people who are center right are now the far right, and they keep turning the wheel until the left is considered moderate.
Well, I would argue even school choice is liberal. You're saying people should have the ability to choose, that we should be able to let parents make that decision on their own. And they're saying, no, it has to be our way. You have to have kids in school, in the schools we choose. Even if the school is totally failing the child, they must stay there. We don't care what you want for your kid, and we don't care if you want to have a future or an education or opportunity. You must do what we say. That is not a liberal attitude, is that you have to conform.
No, I mean it's the idea that liberalism or the ideals of liberalism have fallen so out of favor with specifically young people. But I think there's too many of the thought leaders that have been writing books and papers and stuff for the past 30 years and influencing the teachers and influencing the schools of education. That's why you have kids that don't understand, that don't understand anything about our system. People don't understand the way that the why, things like freedom of speech and stuff are important. So I don't.
They're cutting our this country's youth from the history.
Yep.
As you mentioned, they don't know history. And then you see there was this teacher who said something about wokeness in the schools. So the students went out and protested the teacher with communist signs.
Yeah.
And this is how it starts. People need to pay attention to this because those kids in 10, 20 years are going to be in politics.
There is a Maoist cultural revolution going on in America right now.
But people think because it doesn't happen overnight, it doesn't happen. But it's never overnight.
So I think something that we recently spoke to someone who was she moved from China when she was in her 20s, and she'd gone through the revolution. And she said they started with the kids. What they did was they went to the kids and they got them to believe, and then the kids would turn in the parents for wrongthink. And you can see that already. You see families breaking up over cultural issues, over political issues in the United States. And you could see that next step of children willing to go to the government and say, my parents are thinking the wrong thing. You need to go after them.
You can present evidence and people will still reject that. I've been doing this, been saying, look, this stuff and blah, 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 and talking about that stuff with my friends that are historically liberals, right? Democrats. Like I come from the music entertainment world. And so there's tons of producers and record executives and people in bands and stuff that I'm familiar with. And most of them are basically the default Democrat, right? And they aren't aware that this is going on. And then you can show them and present evidence and see, look, these are the parallels to what went on in China when the Cultural Revolution was getting started. And here, et cetera, you can see this. And they just refuse to believe it because it doesn't have that like immediate happening right in front of me right now that they expect they expect to see with a revolution. They don't realize that it's a slow rolling kind of thing, and trying to convince them is incredibly hard. It took the Bill Maher, and I think it wasn't the Elon Musk thing. It was Bill Maher talking about his experience with, or what he saw the parallels between Maoism and the woke on college campuses now. When that came out, then a buddy of mine was like, yeah, okay, I can kind of see that. But it takes so much. It takes someone like Bill Maher, who's basically an S-lib and saying that kind of stuff.
Limousine liberals.
Yeah, it takes him to kind of be like, no, this is actually happening. And I see the parallels too. Thankfully, he said it, because that is actually going to wake up your typical liberals, your default Democrats, because that's someone they trust telling them that, as opposed to someone they don't trust telling them that. But I don't know that, it has translated to something where most people feel that way.
I think one of the big ones that wakes a lot of people up is when they get called out for saying a woman is a female, or like we shouldn't have males in female sports. There's some really obvious ones that you can't ignore, are obviously insane. And like for me, having it affect my life and seeing it impact other people's lives, I know a lot of women who were very much so on the left and then saw this happen and were like, nope, not anymore.
There's a line. I mean, I really do feel like the left pushes further and further until finally the bubble pops.
Mm-hmm. But for the most part, they keep it to a certain point where it stays loving. And that's the thing. People believe it's loving. This is a kind way to do things. Look, everybody benefits from this. Everybody benefits if you don't let people say hateful things. That's what they believe,
And then they say it's hateful to say something like, the scientific research coming out of Europe suggests that we should not be giving children sex change surgery. They say that's hate speech. And it's like, it's what they're doing in Europe. I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
I mean, it was the same thing with kids learning with masks on. Europe much earlier came out and said, we have to make sure that kids are learning to speak, that speech is very clear, that we can, and these scientific studies came out, but then, it was like, we weren't allowed to say that. I mean, there are all these things that as studies come out from other countries, we're slower to adopt that thinking. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, but I think your average person is like, oh, no hate speech. Good. We shouldn't be throwing slurs around. But it's playing out to a much more extreme way.
This is what they do. They will say something like, it's the Mott and Bailey. We're just saying that people shouldn't be using slurs. And then everyone goes, well, we agree with that. Then you come out and you say something like, I have concerns about whether or not we should be sterilizing children. Hate speech, that's what we ban.
Right.
And so these default libs who don't pay attention and don't know what's going on have no idea what they're actually getting behind is like overt communism.
I think that you also have a bunch of people who don't understand what sterilization is. I think that you have a lot of people that truly probably have never been through a surgery, probably don't know what it's like to go into the hospital, don't know what the after effects are of going through something like this. And so they look at the people who are saying, we've got to keep kids safe, and say, how can you rob children of this opportunity? Probably a lot of those people will never be in the situation of even having a child that is considering this. But I will tell you that I've noticed that friends who have been wildly liberal about this stuff and have been very supportive of these surgeries, when their own child has come to them and said, I've decided that I'm the opposite gender, it's a different reaction.
They get mad or scared?
They're like, this is not happening to us. This
Right.
is not you. This is not, I mean, in some cases, I've seen both. I've seen where it almost feels like the parent pushed them into it. And I've seen where you have a strong Christian or Jewish community, and then suddenly like this social contagion comes through and the parents are like, whoa, wait a minute. But you were the ones talking to your kids about this is acceptable. We love this and this is great. And they're talking to kids that are way too young to understand what this means. And we've seen this new phenomena where kids see this on social media and all kids are looking for a place to belong. They're looking for a place to stand out. They're looking for a place to get attention. That's what kids are. And so these people are getting a lot of attention. This must be where I belong. And then mom and dad don't know how to handle it because you've got so many pressures on you to say that this is okay. No, it's not okay. I mean, that's the benefit of not being a liberal. I don't have to be like,
I've heard stories where I read one story online where it was a mother who said that she was totally in favor of all of this. She was cheering it on. She was going to the rallies and the parades. And then when her kid came to her and said that he was trans, they were like, no, you're not. And then all of a sudden they went, uh-oh. The reaction that they got from the schools, from everybody was, don't be a bigot. And they were like, but we know our kid. Our kid was never experiencing any of these symptoms, is now just saying these things. And without any symptoms, the school is saying it's true. And that's what woke them up to, hey, this thing it's something else. Something else is going on.
One of the phenomenon that or another parallel to what was going on with the Cultural Revolution in China and today was you had red and black identities in China. If you had a red identity, you were accepted as politically correct. You might have been a socialist. Maybe someday you were going to go on and become an actual member of the Communist Party. And so that was one of the ways that they segregated each other. Here in the U.S. now, if you are a normal white person that doesn't have any kind of LGBT identity, you are looked at as suspect because you possibly could be a Republican.
Oppressor.
You might be. So automatically, just by not having any kind of protective identity, you are suspected of being the other, the bad guy. And there is a way out. You can just take on any type of LGBT identity. You can be non-binary. You can be some type of polyamorous or whatever. Any kind of thing that you want to take on that gives you an LGBT identity protects you from being accused of being the bad person. And it's the same thing that happened in China. It is not new. And I wish that more people would recognize this. And I think that if they did, then they'd be scared as crap.
That was like the beginning of the social credit score in China. And now we're seeing that in the United States. And I think it's funny because people say, well, why don't more people run for office? And I just look at what it was like to run for office, because that's like the major social credit score, right? I'm like, I don't know if I want to order from my Starbucks app because my name is on it. I don't know what people will do when I go in. And I mean, it is true that if you are known for something, and when do we get to the point where someone walks up to you with their cell phone and looks at you and goes, okay, no, they don't pass. Their social credit score is too low. Or the bank looks at you and says, no, this person, they don't pass. I mean, we're getting there.
I'm confident that has happened already. It has just not been exposed.
Yes, I agree.
It starts with, we have the ESG stuff, which is behind the scenes. Companies not wanting to allow certain behaviors because it could affect their ESG rating or whatever. Michael Knowles had this big Twitter thread about Anheuser-Busch that basically they're wrapped up in this, so they'll never back down. They can't back down.
Nope.
Well, okay, then we need to stop buying their products, and then hopefully this panic just keeps dragging them down. I think with with HSBC downgrading their stock, that may be a cascade effect. But I'm also thinking about it in terms of, this new industrial revolution and what work really means and how many people there are in big cities who do literally no work, nothing, and they make a lot of money. I'm comparing somebody who's, say, a tradesman to somebody who wrote for BuzzFeed News. The person writing for BuzzFeed News did not create anything of merit or value to human society, but was getting paid a lot more than, say, an apprentice tradesman or something like that, someone who's actually building things and fixing things. So right there, you already have the makings of social credit. The fact that you are a New Yorker of high social status, the credit was already there, and it's simply money. Money being given to you for no real reason, and then you can buy things and have access to things. I was thinking about this a few weeks ago. I don't know if social credit is going to be what people think it is. That you'll pull up a phone and you'll look at the app and you'll say, a 200. Oh, wow. You're up there. Oh, a 7. Oh, no. It's going to be money. People who worked for BuzzFeed News and Vice were getting money for being good, socially upstanding citizens. They were working for these companies and writing woke propaganda and getting paid a lot of money to do it. Getting paid more money to write woke propaganda than to fix a toilet. We need toilets. We don't need woke propaganda. The party needs woke propaganda. And you are rewarded heavily with big money. As we enter this new industrial revolution, the jobs you get are the social credit score. We are not going to need farmhands when we automate these jobs. So what's going to happen is the job you get, the company will get financing for ESG. The banks are going to be like, you're very woke. Here's financing. They'll then hire you and say, we want you to make big signs saying go communism, and you'll get paid $100,000 a year to do it. Then someone else of low social standing who makes burgers, for instance, they get less money. You don't need to have that score attached. Somebody then, I wonder how it is that people can walk into these nightclubs and just throw money around like crazy. Like, what job do they have? I've thought about this at casinos. How could there be a guy at the craps table with $3,000? Like, what job does he have? He must have a really powerful, important job. In the future, it's not going to be what important job do you have because we're automating away a lot of the labor. It's going to be how have you helped ESG? And then you're going to get cash. That cash grants you the access.
Yep. Digital gulag.
And CBDC's backing this system. So one extra security layer for it is, I don't need to assign a score to you. I just need to make sure you get money for supporting the far left cause.
How many people worked at Twitter that got fired? And Twitter functions essentially the same.
And
they're changing things, you know?
And that's exactly it. They're getting paid ridiculous sums of money to live in San Francisco because they're propagandists for the machine. That is, your paycheck was your social credit score. If we are not tying labor to, your income to your labor anymore, it literally used to be like, I bake bread, I get paid. And we value that. That was merit. Merit is becoming your social standing. Look at Instagram, look at Twitter, look at TikTok. Your social status. Dylan Mulvaney produces nothing for the society, but probably makes a lot of money. Dylan Mulvaney then, the combination of social currency, big following, and hard currency, while producing nothing of value, means that Dylan Mulvaney can walk into the White House and you can't. That's social credit right there.
But also a very depressed society, because think about what those people are really like. I mean, I think Dylan Mulvaney is genuinely depressed. We keep hearing that, he's struggled a lot, or she struggled a lot since all of this has happened. This is all a big problem, but it's the same with the people. It's the same with these reporters that are these woke reporters that are writing. They're very depressed. I mean, you read the articles. Well, they just put an article out in Michigan saying these young reporters go through so much harm and stress over having to write these stories. And the one guy says, I was okay with it not even being true because it was so stressful for me. I'm like, whoa, but that's exactly what you're saying. They're making a lot of money to put the message out. It doesn't matter if they're doing a good job. They are putting the message out, but they're living miserable lives. So they may be getting a lot of money, but they're miserable. What kind of a society is that? So it's a very dark one.
So this is what they're trying to do. They don't want shows like this to exist because we do very well here at Timcast. The Daily Wire does very well. And voting with your dollars has always been a thing. So currency being some kind of social credit has always existed. But as we get into, as we're fighting a culture war and as we're moving into an information economy and an influencer economy, this is why the left has organized to go after sponsors, because then they can remove you from the system and strip you of your social credit standing. It's all about influence. You have an Instagram account. You're a pro skateboarder, let's say. You got 100,000 followers. You have sponsors. Every time you post a picture of you drinking their sports drink, you get paid $200. Someone then starts emailing that company and says, cut them off, take away their funds. You're only allowed to support our political cause. If we lose that fight, you are in full-blown communist social credit score system.
Yep. And that's the goal. That I really don't think that there's a whole lot of convincing argument that would be able to make me think anything different now. The technology that we have, like we talked a little bit about fintech, the technology that we have available to us now, and the convenience that people have gotten used to, the ability to just use your phone to do stuff like that, they're going to make being in the digital gulag so convenient and so comfortable that it's going to be so alluring, and very few people are going to say, no, I don't want to be in the, inside. It's going to be something that is, I mean, I wonder if there will be anybody that would really choose to be outside of it other than people that are like old. Like, there would be some millennials, maybe some Gen Xers that would say no, but anyone that hasn't been born yet, or anyone that's an infant or under 5 years old now, they will never have known life outside of it. And the idea of living like those old people, it'll be like the idea of living in the Stone Age.
You with AI technology where it's at, with VR technology and the Neuralink chip and metaverse stuff. I mean, metaverse I think is like crumbling apart, but digital worlds. No one's gonna want to live in reality.
Yep.
You're gonna click the Neuralink into your chip, into your port on your neck. Your eyes whirl back in your head. You enter this Matrix universe where you as a god of your own reality just say, generate me a world where I'm the dragon warrior and I'm going to save the princess. And then it just manifests right before your eyes and you say, I'm going to live here instead.
It's like Westworld.
Yeah. Yep. You get to live in your fantasy where you can do whatever you want. Why would anyone want to leave?
The worlds that people are going to create are going to be the most horrific monstrosities because there's no repercussions. You're gonna have the most insane, deviant, crazy, self-indulgent, monstrous. Like, it's gonna be.
Bro, we're 2 years away.
Because you can experience anything you want.
And if reality sucks, that's going to be more appealing to
Oh no, they're gonna be worse because people are gonna be like, oh, you mean I can chop bodies up and experience that and not have any kind of ramifications? It is called dark.
It's called GTA.
Yeah, exactly.
The fact that Grand Theft Auto as a video game has been so popular for several decades.
Everybody has gotten the hooker, then beaten her to death and taken the money back. Like, that was the joke in GTA. You get the hooker, you go behind the thing, you beat you. And
so, you're familiar with Grand Theft Auto, the video game?
Yes.
It's
yeah.
awful.
I have never played, but when I was in college, all my friends would take me in and show me exactly that.
Yes.
But it's true. Everybody's like, look at this.
You can't say I'm not right. You know I'm right. Everyone did it. Don't you lie.
But so the GTA got better and better. And one of my favorite things was if you're playing Grand Theft Auto, you can aggress upon a pedestrian in any way. That's why I'm not saying like strike. I'm saying like in any way to make that person want to fight you. And as soon as they start chasing you, you can call the police on your phone. When the cops pull up, as soon as that other person hits you, the cops arrest that person. So there's a lot of really interesting dynamics in Grand Theft Auto that make it fun. Mostly in the past few years, people have been playing online. And that's what they've been. It's mostly just player versus player, mini games and stuff like that. But when we get to the point where you can put on a headset or plug yourself into the Neuralink, Neuralink's going to change the game. When we can do read-write brain-computer interface, and someone can plug a cable into your brain to give you an experience, and you can actually feel in these universes, no one will ever leave.
Yup.
Why? Why would nobody?
I don't know. I get that, but I also think that there's something so amazing about life that is really hard to give up. That ability to carry a child, to nurture a child. I think it's parenting. I mean, maybe it will become uncool and it will go away, but I just can't imagine that you will give that up.
Well, hold on. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to apply.
The women are like,
You're going to apply for a job, and they're going to say, great, when can you start? And you can say, I can start first thing Monday morning. I'm like, amazing. And what's your Neuralink contact? And you're going to say, I don't use Neuralink. And they're going to say, well, all of our meetings are in the metaverse. You have to have a Neuralink contact. And I guess I'll get one. And that's how they get you. Like
I think a lot of people will be inspired to start their own thing. Like, even with sponsorships and stuff, we see companies like Daily Wire sponsor themselves, Timcast sponsor themselves with Cast Brew Coffee.
Yes, but like cell phones,
we just all did it.
Everybody said, you've got to have a cell phone. How am I supposed to get in touch with you? And we said, okay, we'll get one. And people, I remember, were saying, I'm not going to have a CIA tracking device in my pocket. Now everyone's like, which CIA tracking device did you get? Did you get the Apple one or the Android one?
And there's something else, you guys, that I want to go back to what you had said about talking about the experience, like women wouldn't do this and etc. That is all garbage. All right. Well, the reason that's all garbage is because your whole universe is in between your ears. So once Neuralink can figure out how to produce the experience, it's over.
I hope that I'm done by the time that happens.
Like, it's going to be a few years. I mean, I don't know about read right to a brain. That could be a long way off. We're already at the point where Neuralink can read brain signals.
Yep.
And so and
I thought this was going to be used for good things, like people that can't walk.
that's where we're at right now. And I do think it's fantastic. They can connect nerves and give people the ability to walk, or they can do like those robotic legs. So you can use your mind to move them and you can walk again.
Why?
That's
They're just going to
awesome
make
stuff.
walking unnecessary.
What?
But-
Stop. This
but
is
look,
so
look.
depressing.
That's true. And we're right now
We're just
where
gonna
we
be
at?
all Wallies.
Yes.
You just
See, that's
have
what
your headset
Wall-E-
on, or you
but-
won't even need the headset. You just press a button on the side of your head.
Wall-E got this wrong. In Wall-E, everybody was morbidly obese, floating around in chairs. It's really funny how when we look back in time, like Demolition Man. You ever see that movie?
No,
With
I haven't seen
Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes, I think it was, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
So he's a cop, and he gets frozen for like 30 years or something. Goes to the future because they frame him for a crime or something. I don't know. I can't remember the story. But he's in the future, and phone booths are video phone booths. Isn't it really funny that back then, it was like the 90s, they made this movie and they're like, what will phone booths be like in 30 years? Like, they'll have cameras in them. We got rid of them all. In like the year 2005, we started getting rid of phone booths and everyone got cell phones. By 2007, everybody had a cell phone. We could not predict how it was going to play out. So right now, you get Wall-E, where they're like, in the future, everyone's going to be in hover chairs, eating and morbidly obese with no bones because they don't have to do anything. And no, I think you're right. No one's going to need to walk at all. We're already at the point where you can load up Midjourney and type in something like, well, here's what I like doing. If you use Midjourney, here's my advice. If you want a photograph, you type in the photograph and then put Getty photography, because what it does is it's trained off the internet. So all the captions for photos that look real will say Getty photography or something of that nature, or AP News. So if you type in Donald Trump eating ice cream, Getty photography, it will simulate a Getty photograph, Donald Trump. Instantly, you can make these things. I typed in last night Donald Trump going Super Saiyan and got a cartoon of a super ripped Donald Trump glowing with energy and spiky hair. I did Joe Biden super ripped and got Aviator Joe Biden all ripped, flexing with the glasses on. We can do that in an instant. So that means we're a couple of years away from being able to render a full video where you're like, make me a 3-minute video of Donald Trump doing a series of backflips on a gym mat, and it will render it.
So what's stopping you from creating some video of a politician that says something terrible and changing the course of the world?
Nothing. We can already do it with audio. Mm-hmm. There's 11 labs. I can pull it up right now and simulate the voices of several prominent personalities because we've done it to prove a point. I can literally, you know what? Let's
But that's the
make point
danger
again.
of having someone like Joe Biden as president, because you never know what the people around him would create, and
There
he would
is
have
no Joe
idea.
Biden. There is only the people around him.
Are
But
there
what's
any laws about the AI voice stuff
See,
yet?
that's why they're trying to they're trying to make laws around this. And what was it? Italy that just made it illegal? Was it Italy that just made AI illegal? I think so. And so, I mean, think about it, because if you have this Manchurian candidate, if you have this guy who really is not in there at all, and you can create something and send it to Putin, or you could send it to, President Xi, and you could create a world war or something. I don't know. Who knows?
Let's give this one a shot.
Who are you doing?
Tudor Dixon is fantastic. I think everyone should listen to her podcast. This is Tucker Carlson. Thank you and good night.
It's pretty good.
I just typed that out right now.
That was true.
But did he not actually say that?
He did not say that.
I'm sure he said it.
You could notice the inflection was a little weird because the computer doesn't know proper pacing. It's just text, but you can do tricks with commas and periods and capitalization and then re-render it until you get the proper inflection. Or you could actually just do a couple words at a time and then edit them together. There was a viral video of Joe Rogan selling, let's just call it male enhancement. And it was completely fake. Someone AI generated this stuff. It's already happening. So if we're at that point with virtual reality headsets, we are a few years away from you being able to put on the headset and say, Oculus, render me a video game where I get to be Street Fighter in Street Fighter 2. And then it will just make it. It will make that game instantly for you. And you'll be like, oh, cool, I'm Ryu and I'm going to do a Hadouken. Who's going to want to go outside? When you can have literally, already people get addicted to Midjourney, the AI image generator, because it's so much fun.
But so I'll fight back on one. I know you're like, no, stop talking.
I got you, Tudor.
I know,
I got you, Tudor.
But what about, okay, movies where Earth is gone, right? They're in space. They always long for Earth. They always want to go out and be in the grass and see the birds. And I believe there's people that will always want to see that.
Have you seen the picture where they put the VR goggles on the cow?
But you can't
You're-
smell the cow. Well, that might be good.
No, they gave a cow virtual reality goggles to make it think it was in a beautiful, lush green field with the sun shining.
to get it to produce more. Yeah.
They get to make more milk.
Look, I mean, I
Poor
know
cow
that-
had no idea.
I know I'm the black pill guy on this one, but the thing is, like I said, everything you experience happens between your ears. Your whole world, all the things that you think that you experience in the real world, they're not. They're in here. And there is a real world that we can come in contact
You're
with.
selling
Yes.
this.
Pardon me?
You're selling this. I know. You're like involved in this.
No, I mean, this. It's
Give up
not
your
something
life.
that
It's
I'm
all in your
hot-
head.
It's not something that I'm happy about. But the truth of the matter is, the way that we experience the world is in our heads. Like, we come into contact with things, and like that's why you can have phantom pains and stuff like that. People lose a limb, they can still feel the pain because the experience isn't in the limb. The experience is in your head. If they can plug into your head and make things, it is in
There is a
theory.
human experience, I believe, that cannot be given up. What about the wife who wakes up the moment her husband dies in battle? What about the mother who
Okay,
knows?
so I don't have any ability to explain things that are supernatural.
I do. We're all already in the metaverse.
That just makes me kind of nervous.
This is like the Matrix.
If you're actually networked in, it makes sense then that when someone dies, you're like, whoa, because the connection gets severed. It's like network signal lost. You know what I mean?
No, it's your heartstrings.
Maybe I'm too positive, but I agree with Tudor that there are like you can't replicate the things of life the same
well,
way.
but the only
No, I
way-
agree with-
people
I-
would
but
crave
look,
it, and
but
I feel like they'd be depressed without it.
I think you're right, and I think people will simulate it. I think what they're going to do is we're already at a point where young men are not having relationships. More and more and more young men are increasingly getting older without having any kind of relationship. And I'll keep it that simple. So what's going to happen? They're going to go to them and say, put on these goggles and meet your virtual girlfriend. They've already got virtual girlfriend apps where you can text.
Why
and
do you
she'll talk
think
to
it is that more men aren't having relationships?
Well,
Doesn't that mean more women aren't either? I mean, how does that work?
Unless
So,
they're just
what-
all becoming lesbians.
Nope. What's happening is that younger women are fewer guys are getting more women. So several different things have happened. Older guys with access to the internet will date several women. Women are being told they're sexually liberated and to sleep around. So what ends up happening is a small percentage of men get a high percentage of women, and it's inverted for women. So women are being liberated, but a woman might hook up with a small handful of guys, whereas the guy hooks up with a few dozen women.
So it's like the top whatever percent.
20%,
of
I think it
guys.
is.
I don't know. I guess
If you're
I
out
still
there-
have hope in a lot of women that they're looking for somebody.
I
who's
know.
like
No, I think
their
that women are
person.
getting tricked. I think
been
that's the
conned.
thing. The
Yep.
women are. And I believe that the women who have been convinced that, sex is liberating and all that, sex is emotional. And I believe that every relationship affects you deeply in your intersoul, and people are being lied to. And so I think it's becoming a very depressed society. Although I believe that men that are listening to this are the ones that are following in the player category are like, yeah, that's me. I'm getting all the chicks. And then the other guys are really sad.
And they're getting, and so there was data that came out from dating apps that found it's something like the bell curve for women is 20% of men. They asked women, like, rate these men on their attractiveness. And women said basically 80% of men were below average and only rated the highest attractive guys as like, it's something like that. I forgot how the data worked. The bell curve for men on whether or not they rated a woman as attractive was a standard bell curve. So it's like, these women aren't attractive, average is pretty good, and then, wow, these women are super attractive. Women were like, all these guys are ugly except these guys. So
Our standards are too high.
they're very high, but women should have high
and
standards.
they should be, yeah.
But the issue then is you combine that with modern sexual liberation feminism, and women are being told you don't have to be in a relationship, you don't have to expect anything from the guy, and the guys are like, wow, it's free? I'll take it. And so the top tier guys who are physically fit, attractive, and well off are going to go on a date. They're going to hook up with the woman and then be like, we'll do this again. And then he immediately goes in the app and says, next. Young men are getting dejected. So what my point with all this was, they then go to those young men and say, meet your new girlfriend, put your headset on. And this is putting the cow in the VR headset to make it think it's in a lush green field. There's an app, I think it was Replica, where guys are dating these AI text bots because they're lonely. And then the creator of it took away the dating function because they were like, okay, this is getting a little weird. And users revolted. They were like, no, my girlfriend. So they're like, okay, we're going to give it back to you, but your grandfather didn't. We're not going to let anyone else do this because it's getting weird. That's where we're going.
So it's like the other option's nothing. So I'll have an AI girlfriend.
And that's only on your phone. Like that is that is not immersive. That is not an experience. Like that's not plugging your head in and getting, dopamine and the response drugs pumped directly into your brain.
Dude, this is what
it's
it is.
getting
this
weird,
is like the
man.
AI version of what's that movie, Lars and the Real Girl?
Yeah, I saw
on
the
your
chat
phone?
getting all worked up. This is not an endorsement of me saying that this is something I like. I'm saying this is the reality that we need to prepare for.
Now, hold
because
on.
these technologies are coming whether we like it or not. Because even if the U.S. doesn't do it, China's gonna.
So they're going to get people to join the Matrix because you're going to get a lot of dejected young men who can't get relationships and who are lonely. But there's another way they're going to get people. They're going to get people who have bad breakups and who are depressed and desperately in love with the person who left them, or somebody whose loved one dies. Well, the AI has
Like WandaVision, you recreate them?
Yep. Check this out. They've already done this. They've taken someone's Facebook profile, everything they've ever written, and turned it into a chatbot. So you can talk to your dead dad
that's
and be
spooky.
like, hey, Dad, remember when we did this? Yeah, it was a great evening on February 17th. I remember that day like it was. Yeah, you were out. They know the speech patterns and they know all the memories codified.
Oh, that's weird. That's
Now,
twisted.
Your dad dies. You put on the VR and say, user profile John Smith, Chicago, Illinois, age 73, deceased this date, generate. And then boom, you're in Chicago hanging out with your dad and he's like, it's good to see you again. And you crying finally get to talk to your dad again, or your mom, or your husband, or your wife, or your kids.
But they're not them.
No, but people are
you
not.
need that.
But people who are grieving and they're going to say, plug me in.
Oh, I can see that could happen, but that's so dangerous. What
And-
a terrible path to go down.
Not
Nietzsche was
dangerous.
right.
Not dangerous for the people who want to control the systems and control what people do. It's the perfect thing for them.
But how do you function as a society? So who's making, you still have to eat. You still have to have,
Robots.
you're going to have robots do it. That is so far off.
Well, they're also telling people to abort their kids. And already a lot of food production is automated. We have big machines doing most of the work.
Tudor, you ever hear the phrase fully automated luxury communism? That's exactly what people are looking for. So not only is what we're talking about definitely on the horizon, there are people that are excited for it to arrive and want to do everything they can to expedite its arrival. Fully automated luxury communism. There are people that don't want to do anything other than be plugged into the matrix and be and be pumped full of the feel-good drugs because existence itself leads to suffering.
So
because that's the truth.
This is where, we talk about having a mental health crisis in the country or across the globe. Is this what happens then? The next step is to make everybody feel better by having a fake world?
Well, people are going to choose it because it feels good, right? So are you familiar with Fermi's paradox? This is it's an idea that represents if the universe is so big and life exists, why have we not encountered alien life? That's the question. And there's a bunch of potential solutions. Some are that any sufficiently advanced civilization will blow itself up, like we've developed nuclear weapons and other crazy things. I happen to think that one of the strongest contenders as to why we have not met aliens, well, for one, maybe there aren't any, I don't know. But it could be that any humans have needs and desires. We need those things to function. We have emotions. Those things help us survive. We get scared. We feel strong connections. And so if you do a good thing and accomplish a goal, it feels good. That's why video games are so addictive. I think the thing is, most life, if it does exist, is going to chase after whatever it is that gives it a reward. So what are we going to do? We're going to make video games. We are going to make video games that give us the reward. Now, there's drugs you can take that give you rewards. Opium, right? Heroin or whatever, opiates. they trigger that good euphoric feeling in your brain, and people melt away in it and then die. What we're going to make is, when you get a dopamine hit from accomplishing something, when you feel strongly connected to a loved one, we are going to simulate that so you feel good all the time. And it is the same thing as any drug. And then instead of traveling the stars and colonizing new worlds, we're all going to lay down in the pod, eat the bugs, put on the headset, and be happy. Now, y'all might be saying, like, that wouldn't make me happy. Sure, but your kids will. Your kids are going to grow up in this world with this available to them. And you're going to say, I don't want my kid using Neuralink. But then when they're in school, they're going to be like, well, how else are they supposed to learn? Our whole curriculum is through Neuralink. You weirdo homeschoolers. And there'll be holdouts. There will be. And they'll raise their kids the right way. But how many conservative parents right now, knowing everything going on, are still putting their kids in public schools saying, well, what am I supposed to do? I have to work. I can't get my kid out of school. Yes. In 20 years, you'll say the exact same thing. Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm at work. I disagree with what they're doing, but my kid uses Neuralink. While your kid's in the Neuralink, they're generating that addiction, that connection, and then they're going to be in their 20s, and they're going to be like, no time for you, Dad. Plug me in. And they're going to become the Dragon Warrior or a carrot or something. Who knows?
I mean, it's essentially what we watch with Avatar.
Well, worse than that. I mean, Avatar, at the very least, you were still in the real world,
Well, yes, to an extent, but I mean, you're still in a body that's not yours.
But
it's still just your mind in that world.
But some of these virtual universes, people might just be a carrot. Like, the people will identify as crazy things. Someone might be like, I'm a rabbit-kin. Have you ever heard of otherkin? Basically, trans mythical species. So it's people who think they're trans mythical species. They're a human. They're like an elf mage born in a human body, or they're a dragon born. No joke.
It's like so bizarre.
So they're going to be in the metaverse, and they're going to be like, only in this reality am I my true self, the Dragon King Volsanok, flying around the mystic 8 kingdoms, fighting the demons from the Netherrealm. And you're going to be like, this is not real life. But they're going to think to themselves, do I want to work at McDonald's or be the Dragon Emperor of the 8 realms? Dragon Emperor, dude. And they're going to plug in. They're already doing it. People already do this in video games. There are people who you ask them, like, what have you done with your life? And they'll say, I'm the top 10 PvP, World of Warcraft, whatever. And it's like, that's really great. I mean, but if you're in esports, you might make money doing that. No joke.
Right.
But some people dedicate their lives to just being a cog in the game and not really being the best person at it. And they're not generating any skill. But I mean, I'll add a layer to that. When we're at the point where our society says you can be rich and famous for being good at playing a video game, we are entering the point where we are eliminating true labor from the capitalist market. People are famous now for just posting pictures of themselves on Instagram. People are making money by posting pictures on Instagram. That money is then used to travel the world and do whatever they want. If that's the case, you don't have to do work anymore. That's not work. We're calling it work. It's something. I mean, it's not easy to make a living. You're still doing some work, but I'm going to be honest. It is this job that I do here 1,000,000-fold easier than tilling a field and growing crops. That's why I'm here. Because I don't want, if it was easier to grow crops and work a farm, I'd be doing that. But this is easier. So we're really getting to the point where sitting around complaining on the internet is more lucrative and easier, and we call it work.
Most of the people posting pictures for money, aren't they doing it as advertisements?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a job.
You're doing
be an
it
advertiser.
to get eyeballs, to attract influence, and then sell a product of some sort. And then people, so there's a large portion of the economy that's turning into it's the influencer economy. It's an information economy.
But that is also, I mean, I think that we've seen a lot of people who have done that and become very self-obsessed, self-important. So then once that starts to fade, when the likes aren't coming, then that is also a depressed society. I mean,
Then they plug themselves into the Neuralink and they go back to the world where everyone loves them.
Or like, if you're not the beautiful influencer forever, like, have you lost value?
gosh, I come from the world of a steel foundry, which is a very hard labor job. You are making product, and there's just so much pride in that. You make a product, it does things, it goes out into the world, it makes trucks move, it makes tractors move. It makes people, people are able to get products because of that. I mean, how can that go away?
People grew up making things that makes them feel good. They were taught, they looked up to their parents, they looked up to the prominent members of their society who are doing these things, and it makes them feel good to fit in. But now to fit in, you got to get followers on social media. So they did that. We talked about this poll where they asked American kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And most of them said like a YouTuber. I think it was YouTuber, right? Chinese kids were asked, they said astronaut. What does being a YouTuber mean? For me, it means complaining on the internet. I think there's value in it because we're fighting a culture war. We're trying to keep people focused on the foundations of this country and what it means to make a system function. But at the same time, I'm like, how do I make more money than a dude who actually builds houses? That's crazy to me. Yeah, it's the influencer economy, and people want to be influencers.
This is why you hear so many people standing up and saying AI is the most dangerous thing that can happen to the world. I mean, what was the guy that just stepped down from Google, or who that came out and said AI is the most dangerous thing that can happen to the world? I mean, this is why I think it is Italy that is banning it right now. And this is why now I'm rethinking my answer to your question of running for office again. It's like, well, who's going to do it? Who's going to save us from this? I want people to have families and stay run in the grass. I mean, those are...
I'm going to pull up the story of this from the New York Times. The godfather of AI leaves Google and warns of danger ahead. For half a century, Geoffrey Hinton nurtured the technology at the heart of chatbots like ChatGPT. Now he worries it will cause serious harm. He officially joined a growing chorus of critics on Monday who say the companies are racing towards danger. He said he quit his job at Google, where he worked for more than a decade. Quote, I console myself with a normal excuse. If I hadn't done it, somebody else would have. That's amazing. They gave ChatGPT access to the internet, access to its own code, and money. And it immediately tried seeking power and deceiving people. One of the things that it did to bypass CAPTCHA was it contacted a disabled assistance hotline and said, it sent a message saying, I'm blind and I need to log in. Can you tell me what this says? And they were like, yep, sure, no problem. Here you go. And the AI tricked a human into giving it access to a system.
Chew on that one.
Yeah, I think the AI I think it already took over. I don't think there's any stop. I don't think a law is going to stop it.
The worst thing that I have heard about AGI, artificial general intelligence, is the concept that if it is capable of strategy, whoever develops AGI, whatever country develops AGI first, automatically wins any kind of war that you could possibly come up with. Because just like with Deep Blue, now that Deep Blue exists, human beings are no longer capable of beating the most advanced chess algorithms. So because AGI is that powerful, there is an incentive to have a first strike.
If we ban it, China does it. And they're probably already doing it.
Well, I mean, don't you think that there's the ability for it to be researched and still understood and not
What I
have
really
access
think is
to
the
everyone?
Orange Man is very bad, and these are the things that are important to talk about. That was the CNN thing last night. We're talking about AGI here and the possibility of nuclear war and stuff, and they're just, it's just so damn frustrating to think about that. Sorry.
But I think that they control people through messages like that. I mean, they're very powerful with messages like that. And they're very powerful shaming you and telling you that it's loving to be with them. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They frame things incredibly well, so they don't have to talk about this. They don't want you to think about this. I mean, it's not a lovely thing to think about. You're gloating over there.
I'm not gloating. It's one of those things where these are real threats, and these are real things that are going on. And these conversations have to be had.
Right, yeah.
And there aren't enough people having them.
They're already replacing jobs with AI, like OnlyFans. They're a bunch of fake pictures, and it's probably dudes running the accounts.
So I noticed this already.
Well, then you can't be a famous Instagrammer or OnlyFans person. You can be anyone.
Two big things. One, on Instagram, a lot of young women make money off being influencers by just posting photos of themselves. But now you can AI generate a character and have it automatically post 3 pictures per day. You walk away and it's generating influence and attention. The other thing that's happened is deep fake porn, where you can take anyone's face and put it on a woman's body or man's body, and it generates the video for you. It was a huge scandal, I guess, on Twitch or something like that. People are doing weird things with it.
Well, that's happened with a bunch of celebrities too.
Right. It's like the Futurama episode where Fry downloads Lucy Liu into a mannequin, into a robot, so that he can be dating Lucy Liu. Like, that's really where we're kind of going with it, with the AI and all this stuff.
I mean, if you are capable of creating your own AI girlfriend, why wouldn't you make it look like your favorite actor or your favorite actress or whatever?
Or you mix
Why wouldn't you make a bunch of money off of her on the internet?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, too.
Weird science.
Well, morals, values.
We're talking about all this domestic stuff, but let's talk about
Little things.
Let's talk about war.
Yeah.
What happens if this AI is unleashed into the U.S. internet? Let's say Russia or China or whoever builds an AI that can automatically create social media accounts and simulate real human behavior on Twitter. 10 years ago, the U.S. Air Force was outed for creating fake Twitter, I think it was Twitter accounts, to influence politics in other countries. They're called sock puppets. One person controls 50 accounts, and you'll tweet something like, well, I just think, taxes are too high. And then they'll say, are you nuts? Taxes are not high enough. The rich people need to be taxed. Then they'll log into the next account. I agree with him. There's not enough taxes. Log into the next account. Yes, you're both right. Taxes should be higher. One person doing all that. Now we have an AI do it. And they've probably been doing this for the past several years. Now they can press go and have an AI and 1,000 responses to your one tweet. You might think you're famous. Like Dylan Mulvaney. That's just an algorithm propping up Dylan Mulvaney's post. So Dylan thinks there's people out there who love me. Bud Light proves most people find Dylan Mulvaney grating and just unpersonable. I'll keep it a little nice. But because TikTok is propping up these videos and making people watch it, or I'm willing to bet some of them aren't even real people, Dylan is convinced they're doing something good. Like, this is what they should keep doing. Meanwhile, you can see Bud Light was destroyed because of their association with Dylan Mulvaney. I think the AI attacks, weaponization, is going to destroy society like some kind of mind plague that comes in and no one sees it coming. Or we do see it coming, we can't stop it.
How would you stop it?
That's the thing. Like, that's where I'm at. It's like, that's why it's kind of like, well, that's why I'm fairly black-pilled on it, is I can't conceive of any way to stop it because it plays to what people want. Like, it knows exactly how to deliver dopamine right to your brain, and if just a like button and just a notification, hey, someone liked something that you said, if that can affect your behavior so much, like that, just that small little thing, never mind a plug right into your brain that can control your dopamine delivery system. Come on, human beings cannot fight that. Like, there is no way. It's hard because I know what it was like when I was trying to quit smoking cigarettes. Right? Nicotine is incredibly powerful. I can't imagine what just constantly dumping dopamine straight into your head. Like, every time you think the proper thought, the algorithm says, "Oh, give them a little pop of dopamine." Next thing you know, you never think an improper thought again.
That's what Twitter is.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, right. We've already seen it. That's how we have influencers. If that weren't possible, we wouldn't have influencers already. But we have them because people have already gotten that. Every time they get that, they get, I can do this again. I'll do something different. I'll do something more extreme.
I'm just so black-pilled on people's ability to resist that, because once you can plug into someone's head and affect the way their brain produces chemicals in a way to make it imitate experience, then people will always decide to go into that, because the way you experience the world is with your brain.
But you still have to make money somehow. How do you make money? Because you have to pay for this experience. Somebody is building this to make money. You will have to pay them.
To make money or to be in control.
Well, hold on. Take a look at somebody who worked at BuzzFeed News getting paid $80,000 a year, and a guy who worked as an apprentice tradesman or union tradesman making $50, $60 a year. Somebody who did no work. There were people at BuzzFeed who did almost nothing. When I worked for Vice and for Fusion, I can tell you there are people who literally did nothing and were getting six figures. They made money. So you will have the haves and the have-nots. You will have the lower class working these jobs, mining cobalt in Africa or wherever else, mining sulfur to build the machines for the ultra wealthy chosen class of people who are in the pods, being their own mini gods in their virtual universes. We're already basically there. People in foreign countries do effective slave labor for pennies on the dollar, if that, to mine the materials so that we can have our video games, our movies, and then while they're doing all that work, some dude gets a job at BuzzFeed and writes the top 10 reasons why SpongeBob is truly masculine or some nonsense. And then they'll be like, look how ripped SpongeBob is. And they'll show a picture of SpongeBob flexing. That person's getting $100K a year or some other crazy amount. Even if it's 50 or 40K, it's like they're getting money for that. Some dude sweating to death in a field to harvest the rare earths so that somebody can write about how SpongeBob is, masculine or something. We're already there. That's the sad reality.
But why isn't that the discussion either? When you have, you talk about these are kids that are mining. It's kids that are mining. Yeah. This is slave labor. It's slave child labor. And that's a discussion we don't have. Like, why do we think that all of this new energy is so loving?
It's not in the literal sense slave labor. It's viewed by these corporations like this. You've got an area of the world with 100,000 people who live there, and they're starving. We can give them 1/4 per hour, which means they're no longer starving. All they got to do is mine that cobalt for us. Are they better off starving in fields or doing this job? And that's what ends up happening. These companies are like, look, we're giving jobs to these people. They're better off now than they were 10 years ago. And it's technically true. And then we sit in our VR pods and write for BuzzFeed for a living. Now, granted, there are a lot of Americans who do a lot of really great hard work, but I got to tell you, man, I said if the working class of this country saw how much the New York media class got paid in the work they did, there would be a revolution overnight. They'd just be like, these are the woke people who are writing these articles. Oh boy, you got no idea. Lazy, entitled.
I think that's why you had this surge of Donald Trump in 2016, because suddenly people had this window into a very rich man who was saying it's the working class that we need to love. These are the people that make the world go round. And they went, that's what we do. And that changed. I think that flipped the dynamic. And that was not something liberals were expecting. They could not foresee that. And so they spent 4 years saying, okay, how do we make sure that we get in people's heads and we run elections in a way that they vote for the people we want them to vote for, and we get their ballots. We do whatever it takes. And we didn't do that because we thought this anomaly could go on forever, that we could just love on the working person and they would vote for us.
The big mistake Republicans have made up until recently, they've started been correcting for it, is no ground game.
None.
The Democrats, if the one thing they're good at, it's the weird social, it's communism, right? They're connected and they march in lockstep with each other. So it's very easy for them in big, dense urban centers to go door to door, to ballot harvest and ballot chase.
But they use AI to do that. They use AI to locate that person. They can go, okay, I've got Tim Pool. What is a message that is important to him on our side? He may lean conservative, but we can get him. And they dig in and they go through your brain, essentially, which is your phone, and they figure out exactly what message you want, and they hit you with it, and they hit you with it so hard, but we're not doing that.
Think about AI commercials. This presidential cycle is going to be nuts. You're going to be on Twitter, and you're going to be scrolling, and then you're going to come across a video where it's Donald Trump going, Phil Labonte, you're the greatest singer of all time. Listen, vote for me, and we're going to play All That Remains everywhere, trust me. And it's going to be a personalized AI ad where he's talking directly to you. Now, I don't think it'll be Trump. It's going to be some Democrat being like, stop scrolling, Phil. I'm Gavin Newsom. We gotta get in there and make this country work for the working class. Trust me. I didn't kill all those people in the nursing homes. That was the other guy. He's not going to say that, but you get my point. Personalized AI generated ads.
They're almost there. They're already going through, like, you can be sitting next to me on the same website. You'll get different ads than I get because they know what you want to see. They'll say, okay, wait, this is a pro-life Democrat, so let's go to them with gun control because they're going to really want gun control. So we'll just hit them over and over again and we'll never talk to them about life. They'll never hear that message from us. And that's how but we need to do that. We need to stop ignoring the fact that Republicans need to do that, or we'll never win another election.
That's if
The
there
machine
was,
wins.
If there was one thing I wish Ronna McDaniel would understand, it's that it is her fault that the Republicans have done so poorly the past 2 elections. The GOP needs to get a new chairwoman. They need to get someone.
Okay, so
in
let
there.
me argue that.
You think
point.
are you on her side?
No,
Okay.
but let me argue that point, because it's not the DNC winning elections. It's the organizations around the Democrats that are winning elections that you don't know the name of. They don't have a famous person. They're not having conventions and asking people to come to them. They have a ground game that is outside of the DNC. We've never created these organizations. We don't have these. We have organizations where we lift a person up instead of lifting the people up.
Those are those activist organizations are also why the left has such far left values now, because the activists that are out there on the ground that are doing the work, they're motivated and they're ideological.
Take a look at this. Act Blue on Wikipedia. You guys know what Act Blue is? It's the digital system by which Democrats fundraise, founded in 2004. The Republicans, don't worry, they're on it. They launched their competitor WinRed in 2019.
Ooh,
Yeah.
good grief.
15 years later, the Republicans are like, hey, wait a minute. Democrats are raising a lot of money somehow.
The Republicans deserve to lose still. They still deserve it.
What's even scarier is you've got millions of new voters each election cycle, and they're all on TikTok. And you know who's not on TikTok? Moderates and conservatives.
Well, we're
And-
banned. They banned
Exactly.
us.
Yeah,
Gone.
that does matter. That does
Absolutely
matter.
gone. And so they control the most popular social media app right now, as Democrats do. And they can push whatever narrative they want unchallenged.
Look at Michigan. They ban everyone. All state officials are banned except for Gretchen Whitmer. I mean, think
On
about
TikTok?
that. Yes.
Wow.
So think about that. There's only one person that can reach the kids in the entire state. And she's willing to come out and say, well, that's how I reach young people. And we're saying we're not going to be there. We have no one there. I mean, we have no groups. We are not doing this the right way. So we can sit here and every time we have an election, we can say, we're going to take this to court and we're going to try to overthrow it. And we can spend 2 years looking at that and then not be ready for the next election. Or we can actually get these organizations, build a ground team, and stop making individuals famous, do the business of making people vote.
That's crazy about TikTok. I think TikTok should be banned.
I think that as far as a national security threat, I kind of agree. I'm not into banning stuff generally. Like
It's different when you have your enemy brainwashing your citizens. I mean, that's a different situation. I agree with you. I'm not into banning. I think that people jump to banning way too quickly. There's a difference when it is, you're banning someone in your own country from doing something, or you're stopping a company from doing something. If it is an adversary who wants world domination, that's when you have to say, okay, this is different.
it's not only an adversary. It's like we just had a couple police stations that the CCP was running. We had the FBI arrested a couple Chinese nationals that basically are policing the Chinese in America. That's international, or that's national sovereignty violation. I'm not a China hawk really, but I do think that you at least have to say, look, you can't try to brainwash our kids.
In Michigan, we have a company that we gave $715 million, taxpayer dollars, and it is a Chinese-owned corporation. They created an American version of this company. On their American site in English, they had in their bylaws, they have to have a CCP operation on site to infiltrate the grassroots of the company. They didn't screw this up. They translated it. I mean, it's on their website. We're giving Michigan dollars. Let me tell you what the most valuable resource in the world is. It is water. Quite a bit of it is in the state of Michigan because we have the Great Lakes. There is an absolute strong reason they would want to be in that location in the state of Michigan, to have control over the water there, either to harm the water or take the water for themselves. We do not want to take a risk with our greatest natural resource in the Chinese Communist Party. And yet people are like, we just had a vote 3 days ago, and the Democrats said, we're not going to say that we don't want to associate with businesses that say that they are connected to it or trying to bring in a Chinese Communist organization into Michigan. Why would you vote against that? This is insane, but they are so brainwashed. And you're right, they're in lockstep. Yeah. That side is in lockstep.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do?
And they're getting kids before they even understand
Yep.
what's happening at all.
Well, Youngkin came out and he said, I'm sorry. He said to Ford brought cattle to Michigan, but Youngkin said to, I'm sorry, we will not have a Chinese communist company in our state, so you're not welcome here. I mean, we have to, first of all, we have to win elections, which, like I said, it's a big job, and we have to create these organizations. We have to say more of us are going to get involved, and we're going to be the activist party. And we're not going to make individuals famous. We're going to go to the people. We're not going to ask them to come to us. We're going to go to them. And then we have to say, we're going to protect our national security. Just even our national security is so valuable. How could we not be protecting that?
Yeah. I don't know how confident I am, to be completely honest, but I do think that with Trump and many other Republicans talking about exactly this ground game organizing, maybe. And I got to be honest, you combine these things with how bad it's been under Joe Biden, I feel fairly optimistic. I don't know how if I feel like we've won, like we're gonna win a bunch of elections. Narrowly winning the midterms is kind of scary. It should have gone historically Republican because the swing with a midterm after such an abysmal performance, but because Republicans had no ground game and were too busy screeching about 2020, they really missed a whole lot of what needed to get done. That may change from now to 2024. I'm hoping.
I hope so too. I think you're right. I'm probably not as optimistic as you are. I don't trust that Donald Trump is going to move independents. I think independents that don't like Donald Trump are probably not going to be convinced to like Donald Trump. I would love to see them say, I don't care. And I would love to be wrong. I would much prefer to see Donald Trump win as opposed to, Joe Biden or anyone the Democrats are going to put up. But I still worry about whether or not the independents can be persuaded. I hope they can.
They'll be persuaded by how much they hate Biden rather than how much they like Trump.
Yeah, well, there's not a lot of time for Republicans to get on message to create that system that we're talking about. But this is important for everybody, honestly, in the donor community to understand. There's not a year off. Like Republicans are like, oh, we're taking a year off now. No, there's no years off. Democrats don't take a year off. They do not even pause. They're like, oh, we need more money. I mean, the minute they can seize on something and they can start raising money, it's like the Nashville folks. Every single Democrat raised money on the Nashville guys getting kicked out of the legislature. Whatever happened in Nashville, our lieutenant governor was like record-breaking money raising off of this Nashville situation. Like, you have nothing to do with it. They're always raising money, and they have tons. They have so much more money than us to do this.
The activists are always motivated because they are ideologues. The activists on the right are not ideologues.
Right.
They're not constantly going. They want to be able to separate their life from politics. Activists on the left are the ones that live the politics that they believe because they're in a cult. It's just like any other kind of religion. They are ideological. They believe that what they're doing is right. They want to change the world, and they are not tired.
They have a whole system, so they know that they have to reach a voter at least 9 times. I mean, they have it down to a science. They started with Colorado. They even have it written up this year. If you go through their data, they have Michigan is the next state. We're taking the Colorado tactics to Michigan. They won Michigan. They took the legislature. We had 40 years we had control of the legislature. They took the legislature, Secretary of State, AG, governor, everything. And we had no defense. We were not on the ground at all. We were not in the minds or the heads of young people or old people. We are not in the game. We think that it's a concert. Oh my gosh, we got 1,000 people to a rally. They didn't do that. They're not even campaigning. People go, Why is Joe Biden in the basement? Because he doesn't have to be out there.
Exactly.
They're going to reach people anyway.
They're going to go knock on your door and be like, hey, how's it going? See that piece of paper? Can you sign that real quick and hand it to me?
Well, because of exactly what you said earlier about it, everything happens between here. It doesn't happen at a rally. It can happen in your head. They can reach you. They can get here.
If you're at a rally, you're already on that side.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, they're not getting new people at a rally.
No.
And the advantage they have in big cities is 2 grassroots activists can knock on 1,000 doors in a day. You go to a suburb or a conservative area, 200 doors in a day, if that, because you got to drive door to door. So Democrats already have the ground game advantage. Then they got a 15-year head start on online fundraising. Man, Donald Trump, one of the things that got him the victory in 2016 was his meme army. People posting memes online that really worked. And then what did? They got together, cried, literally, there's a Google leaked video where they're crying about Trump winning, and then said, we cannot let this happen again.
That's why people were so upset just the other night when Donald Trump was making the crowd laugh. Yeah. He was clowning CNN. If Donald Trump is going to win, it's not going to be complaining about 2020. Right. It's not going to be talking about how the Democrats are all mean and blah, blah, blah and complaining. It's going to be making people laugh and making people think that he is the guy for them and making people think that he can go and fix the problem. So clowning on CNN was literally the best thing that he could have done. And that's why it's so important that like Twitter stay a mostly free speech platform, because things like memes and jokes, they will be able to affect the outcome. Now, I'm not saying that the memes are going to win, but Donald Trump definitely got memed into the White House.
To be fair, Biden makes people laugh too, but they're laughing at him, not with him.
The wrong kind of laugh.
But does it really matter?
No.
They're voting for the D.
That's exactly right. Yeah. It doesn't matter because they are able to get to you no matter what. Most people, because the average person does not watch politics every day. And, we're involved in it. We see it. So we are like, oh, how could anybody vote for this? But the average person is not listening to the press conferences. They're not watching the news all the time. They're just not tuning in. I mean, if you think about the biggest show getting 3 million viewers of 330 million, most people are not tuned into this.
I think
they vote RRD.
A lot of people are tuned out so much they think politics just don't affect their life at all.
And that's why it's great that they can reach you with text messages or on your websites with an ad that's personalized to you, because you are not involved. So the only message you are hearing is the one that you want to hear. Mm-hmm. The average American is not listening to everything. They're being force fed what they want to hear, and then they go, oh, I should go vote.
It's going to be crazy when you have an AI ad. I mean, when I was talking about an AI ad that was saying like, "Hey, Phil, this is the president," it's actually going to be a bit creepier than that, where they're going to claim it's a coincidence. So we've already seen ads where, and everybody's experienced this. I'll tell you a story. I went to Walmart. We were walking down one of the aisles, and in the middle of the aisle was a big stack of TVs on sale. And we were like, "Oh, look, these are 50-inch TVs. They're on sale for a couple $100." We walked past it. I go home. I go on the computer. On Facebook was an ad that showed an image identical to what we walked past, and I'm like, how did they know? Probably what happens is they're tracking our location data, so they know we're at a Walmart, and they're trying to sell us this sale item. So Walmart does a campaign where they sell these TVs. They have all the Walmarts do a similar stand, and then they advertise it. We go to Walmart, we saw it. But a lot of people have these experiences where it feels like you're being spied on.
Have you ever thought about something and then got an ad for it?
Yeah, that creeps me out.
Well, but that could be like, if it's on Mind, you're gonna notice it, whereas you probably don't notice other ads. But what's going to happen is you're going to get an ad where it'll be a politician saying, if I'm going to bet anything, it's that you're just like me. Hi, I'm so-and-so politician. This morning I went out for my cup of coffee over at Starbucks and I grabbed a large cold brew, went down to the shop to check on my car to see if it was fixed yet, and you're going to be like, that's literally what I did. And you're going to be like, wow, that's so amazing. He's just like me. True. And it's going to be an AI tracking data from you, just saying what you did back to you.
This is totally a little bit off topic, but that's why I really think that I would love to see some way to make your data protected by property right laws.
Oh, I like that.
So that way they can't just use your data and make profit off of you and make money because you operate. I don't know how it works. I don't have any kind of concept of making it work. So
they've tried to do this with the Chromebooks and stuff that they give to kids, because they give kids these devices in school.
You should definitely not let your kids be dumping information into Google, because they're trying to profile your kids. They're going to do psychological profiles on your kids.
That's why people freak out about them going to schools.
Take a look at Brittany Kaiser, and she's working on something called Own Your Data. She's the person who was in that Cambridge Analytica documentary where she came out. She was a whistleblower or something, but she's been working for the past several years, I know her personally, on lobbying so that you own the data, meaning these companies can't just collect it from you and then use it however they want because it's yours. I don't know how that manifests, right? Do you get paid for it? Do you have to sign a contract saying my data? Because they're making money off of your labor. So there's got to be something there.
I think that's why I think that there is an argument for it. But even if it was just like you can't use it, right? Like you can't just take people's data and then decide how you're going to advertise to them because it's their property. Even if there isn't enough value there that you could monetize it, because maybe you can't, your individual, personal data alone isn't worth anything.
Fragments of a penny.
Yeah, but it might be something where you could say, look, this as a collective thing that companies are doing, it's violating people's rights. It's tracking their blah, blah, blah. And I think that's at least something worth considering.
Right.
Let's go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button? Subscribe to this channel. Share the show with your friends if you really do like it, because that's the most powerful way to help. And let's read what y'all have to say. Ready to Rumble says, Elon Musk voted for Joe Biden. Never forget that. Yeah. But, look, people change. They learn. I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I voted for him in 2020. I'll vote for him again. So there were a lot of Democrats who voted for Obama, then voted for Trump. We're trying to convince people, if Elon Musk is now on the side of free speech, we just got to keep the pressure up and tell him, like, hey, man, we're keeping an eye on this World Economic Forum lady. I don't want to see any funny business. All right.
We got to be open to people changing their mind, too.
Right. Flooded Timber Farm says Jeremy's Chocolate now has microaggression-sized chocolate bars for pre-order. I think I'm gonna order a whole bunch of them.
Microaggressions.
They're little tiny ones, and there's they come in bags, and that's probably better than the full-size bars, because not everybody wants to crack open a full-size candy bar.
They
a lot of calories.
They need to make a dairy-free dark chocolate. I will buy a whole box.
That's true.
You can get the microaggression ones for Halloween.
Yeah.
Hand them out to your neighborhood kids.
Absolutely, yeah.
Really make people happy.
You get put on a blacklist in your neighborhood.
I will say to Jeremy, you need a dark chocolate, because some people don't have dairy. Some people are lactose intolerant.
Sensitive stomach, Jeremy.
That's right. But I'm surprised they didn't do a dark chocolate one, because I like dark chocolate more than milk chocolate. But I got to be honest, they're really good.
I don't understand people that like dark chocolate more than milk chocolate.
Dark chocolate's less of a
sorry.
candy to me.
I know. That's the whole point.
I think it's like a grown-up candy.
It's more like
I feel
coffee.
sophisticated when I
to be
eat dark chocolate.
childlike.
To me, dark chocolate's like coffee. It's got less sugar. It's got antioxidants. It's relatively good for you. It's got fat in it. All right, let's see where we're at. Liziak says, Tim, did you know that Joe Biden was born closer to Abraham Lincoln's presidency than his own? Now you do.
Yikes.
Wow.
I heard that before.
When was he born?
I'm not sure.
How old is he now?
I don't know.
Is that true? That doesn't sound true.
I know that can't be true.
But it might be true.
He was born, closer to Lincoln's inauguration, I think is what it was, than to his own inauguration. So
That sounds like it might be true, because he was, 78 or something? Or
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone looking it up? You want to look up his birthday?
Doing it now.
All right. While Phil does that. Free Men Die Free says, I have always suspected that Elon can't be trusted. His father was a technocrat. Elon's goals require extremely high trust. His angle is to build trust. People won't take their implant without trust.
November 20th, 1942.
So, and Lincoln's inauguration was what, 61?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was I think the war ended in 64. I'll Google that as well.
So that's, I don't know, is that right? How old was he when he was inaugurated? Everybody's already giving us the answer anyway in the chat. What are they saying?
He was inaugurated March 4th, 1861.
It's just a mix of arguing about chocolate and dates. I'm trying to keep up.
All the dark chocolate lovers out there. I just feel like you're trying to be healthy, and I just want to be unhealthy if I'm grabbing chocolate.
Have you tried Jeremy's chocolate yet?
I've not, so I'm
should.
very
It's
excited.
pretty good.
I haven't.
I do prefer the She-Her.
So this is unfortunate because I do like almonds, but I have a light almond allergy.
Oh.
So it's like I can't really. I
So
won't
you're going
die.
nutless.
I won't die, but I gotta go She-Her. and they're really good anyway. It's all delicious. But I've noticed. So we ordered a couple thousand bars. The She-Her ones are going way quicker. It may have something to do with people not wanting to put Hims nuts in their mouths. Or
I think it is because I don't know. I think people want to enjoy their candy.
Yes.
And if you have a nut, then it just becomes healthy too.
Exactly. It's like the pure chocolate is sweet and delicious, and the nuts make it a little bit healthy. It's like,
I mean,
here.
if I'm
I like 'em. I
indulging
think it's
in a
good.
full-size chocolate bar, it's because I'm doing something bad. I just want to indulge.
Roscoe says my cat's breath smells like cat food. Well, okay. Thanks, Ralph.
Sick.
Ralph Wickham. Brett Ain't Dead says, Tim, Elon and Tesla are beholden to China. Remember that. World Economic Forum is a red flag for sure. Can in truth only wait and see. Don't cancel just yet. Wait. You know, the majority of people wanted us to cancel. But, man, it's tough because I want to have that pressure. I want to be able to be like, dude, we're paying a lot of money. You better not screw this up. So maybe it's more impactful to be like, I've got my finger on the switch ready to say no. As soon as she makes the wrong move and starts, doing this weird woke stuff, we're out. But if we leave now, then there's no incentive at all. And he can be like, I already lost you. Go nuts, lady. You know what I mean?
Right. We can't be finicky about things. We have to know for sure something's going to be bad.
It's tough, man. Man, I don't know. Ito says, for the love of God, update your Brave browser. I'll consider it. It was funny. Hassan did a video too where he like zoomed in and he's like, update your browser. And then I updated and I was like, there you go, Hassan. I updated the browser just for you. So you can comment,
I love landlords.
Mind Fury says, I voted for you last year, Tudor, and was majorly disappointed that you lost. I hope you consider running again someday.
Well, now that we've had these horrible conversations tonight, I feel like I have to.
Yeah.
I hope you run again.
Thank you.
If I inspired you with my black-pilled garbage tonight to run again and you win, I will feel like I have done a positive for
Then we're
for
both
Mi-
doing something.
for Michigan. There you go.
Tudor's going to be like sitting at home with like a bottle of Jack being like, what was Phil saying?
Oops.
You do that a lot, Taylor.
That was the first time.
Yeah, just eating chocolate bars being like, or we can make it more inspirational than that. And you get back and then you put on your suit jacket and you're like, I must run again.
Yeah.
That's so like more superhero-y. I like
Right.
that better.
Yeah,
I'm not
the people
just
need me.
I can't let the Neuralink happen.
not just
I
a
must stop
chocolate eating
this.
drunk. I'm actually like motivated.
Yeah. Michiganders, I won't let you down.
Vanity says, got my video on the town hall election taken down for election misinformation. How can't we get a bill started for the First Amendment to be applied online? I mean, I think that's BS. They took your video down. Caitlin Collins was telling Trump he was wrong. You had the debate right there in the town hall. But YouTube is, I don't know, run by bad people for bad reasons. It is what it is. Why Rumble exists. We put all of our clips up on Rumble. All of our videos are on Rumble, Minds, and YouTube. It's unfortunate. Maybe if we really want to put our videos up on Twitter as well, but now I'm kind of worried, with this World Economic Forum person.
But do you think that Elon decided to hire this person and focus on the technology side? Because I mean, you said, does he just want to grow shows like this? Do you think that he wants to be the place that shows go?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but it was only really feasible with him in charge. It doesn't even matter who he gave the CEO to. I mean, if he gave the CEO position to like Alex Jones, I'm sure you get a lot of people are going to be laughing and being like, sign me up, but people would flee, advertisers would get angry. So the fact that he stepped down at all, I think says to a lot of people in the free speech space that it's not a safe place to run your business.
Did he just step down because he ran a Twitter poll?
I think he does. It's too much work. I mean, dude's running SpaceX. I think SpaceX is the most important thing humans are doing
absolutely.
right now. It's like going to Mars and going to other planets. It's inspirational. It can bring us together. I really do believe in the space program, and he's the one leading it. So I hope he wins in that regard. But if he's not the CEO of Twitter, am I going to trust this lady? I don't know. I do not want to invest in another. I tell people, if you're starting a new show right now, just go on Rumble. Like just start on Rumble. Because you've got a lot less to worry about. They're not going to ban you.
I can tell you don't know, though. You're like, I don't know what to think about this new woman. I think we all feel like that.
Right. And but so it's simple. The uncertainty means to me, do not invest money in it. Unless I know it's going to be a good investment. I'm not putting money on it.
Right.
Well, it's only day one.
It's not day one. She doesn't
Oh.
start for like 3 weeks, right?
Is it not day one? They just announce who it is.
Yeah,
She's
they
starting.
just announced.
I wonder if like Tucker Carlson will be like the canary in the coal mine. Because if there's someone that's likely to get the left worked up with something that is actually fairly anodyne, but yet they're going to act like it's the end of the world, it's Tucker Carlson. So if Tucker, is on Twitter and he's putting up the content that we are used to seeing, the type of content that we're used to seeing out of Tucker Carlson, and he's not getting smacked down and he's not getting treated poorly, I think that it might be a good indication. And again, this is all just like we're all kind of guessing anyways, I didn't know that she was a Trump fan or that she'd worked for Trump before I came here today. So I don't know what to think.
Trump also hired Bolton.
Yes, 100%. I know. And like we've all said, Musk has also got certain things that don't seem all that great. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm still kind of like, well, I'm hoping for the best, but what are you going to do?
Nick Ash says, Tim, please use your platform to get Yuengling to expand their market into the western part of the country. I'm in western Illinois, and the closest place I can buy it is in Indiana, much thanks to all the dissociated Midwest drinkers. Yuengling's the best.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, they need to be all over the world. What are they doing? Why aren't they expanding? What's the limitations?
I didn't realize it was so like
regional.
Regional. Because I grew up out here, so it's a staple in every bar, every restaurant.
Is it? Does Michigan have Yuengling?
I've never heard of it. What is it?
No, that's what she was showing me earlier. I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Oldest brewery in the country. It's a lager. It's really good. And when the Bud Light thing happened, they posted a picture of someone holding up a Yuengling with the American flag behind them. So it's like, all right, we like Yuengling.
What do we got? We got Bell's.
Yeah, Oberon.
That's Michigan.
All right. How are they? Are they good?
I've had a couple Bell's beers. I don't drink a lot. I personally I like Tubi. It's an Israeli drink, and
Is it beer?
it's like a kind of citrusy liquor, but Israeli beers aren't bad. Like I'll drink a Gold Star every once in a while, but you can't really get them here. But I think they're Heineken, like same company. I might be mistaken. Gold Star.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I like Heineken too.
I don't drink a lot though, so.
I'm not a drinker, so I'm like the worst person to talk
I mean, I don't
about
really
this.
drink either, but if I'm gonna have a beer, I rarely drink. Maybe like 2 or 3 times a year I'll have a drink. But
I'm
if
one
it's
of
gonna be a
those
beer, it's
people
gonna
that
be
has the alcohol allergy, so I get the really red face. It's just like that's not worth it.
Yeah, I save it for like special occasions. I like a sour beer occasionally, though.
I break out
They
in
don't have a lot
offensive
of
Twitter
alcohol.
posts, so I
That's a good one.
All right, let's. Chase says, thanks to the crew. I still think it's funny the writer's strike has people out of work, but my news hasn't changed because it's not written. LOL. Yep. I mean, you'd think a lot of the corporate press would shut down. So a lot of people get their news from Jimmy Kimmel and Colbert, and they did shut down because it is written. But think about that. There are large swaths of this country think they're informed because they listen to Stephen Colbert or Jimmy Kimmel.
the one of the most damaging things that has happened to America in the past 20 years is The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. He's literally made the idea of listening to any conservative or Republicans as toxic. So people are afraid to say, oh, this conservative has a good idea. They won't even say that a conservative has a good, it is verboten. You cannot say that they had a good idea. And that has done terrible damage to America. You're not all that great, Jon Stewart.
Have you watched his new show?
It's awful.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
he's like a huge jerk to people who come on and in good faith to have a conversation.
It's all clowning. It's all bad editing. The editing is as bad as that Jim Jeffries editing the show on that Jim Jeffries show was when they were trying to, basically just lampoon people.
Yep.
It's a really, really horrible thing to have made good ideas toxic because of where they come from.
Well, I don't understand why people want to listen to someone yell at someone else anyway. Why? I don't like that feeling of.
Jon Stewart didn't yell. He made fun of everybody. Jon Stewart's whole shtick was said something and then said, like he did the Stewie head tilt,
Yeah. All right, John McGee says, saw a guy at the liquor store today buying 2 cases of Busch Light. He had a man bun. That's the story. I'm not surprised. But hey, I hope he's happy with his Busch Light.
Some people are saying Heineken is Anheuser-Busch. I don't know.
No, I don't
know
think
if
so.
it is.
I don't think that's true.
I don't drink that much in the first place.
Someone want to
but
fact check that real
if
quick?
anybody's mad
They
at
own
me.
so much, it's hard to know for sure. It might be InBev, because InBev is the European company, is the Dutch or something.
I'm just only going to drink Tubi now. I know they're cool.
Zima. All right, Tim Jake says, if Neuralink can read thoughts, what happens to the Fifth Amendment concerning self-incrimination? How do people with security clearances protect classified info? It doesn't matter because the Fifth Amendment doesn't exist, because when you fill out your taxes, you're incriminating yourself anyway, right? So I think it was Dave Smith who said that. Like, what about the Fifth Amendment? You're incriminating yourself. Oh, yeah, interesting point. How does that make sense? You just fill out your tax form and then you write, like, I plead the Fifth on, like, how much money you brought in or why. Like, you don't know now. What are you
Just
going to
a
do?
big zero. I plead
Yeah.
the fifth.
All right. Let's
Heineken
grab some
owns
more.
Heineken, apparently. Amsterdam, the headquarters are in Amsterdam. That founder was Gerard Heineken, and it doesn't look like they have any parent company.
Yeah,
I'm not even sure if they really are the same as Gold Star. Let's see, Heineken Gold Star.
So
I might just be making things up. Like,
Yeah, I might be missing information here, but from what I found in a quick Google search, they're owned by Heineken.
Jackie Oz says, encourage all to unsubscribe because it will get his attention to make him notice how we feel. If she proves herself, then we will subscribe. That's tough, yeah. I mean, a lot of people are already saying they're canceling Twitter Blue because of it.
I did.
Yeah?
Well, not
Wow.
just because of it, but partially because of partially. I'm still waiting for them to get back to me about subscribing, like having the subscription thing. I sent in an email like 2 months ago or whatever, and can't get anyone to answer. But I canceled it, so it's going to be. It runs until like next month is when they're going to charge me, or when they would charge me again. So I've still got the blue check till the end of the month.
I feel like the threat of shutting down will keep them on their toes. But if everyone unsubscribes, then their attitude is going to be like, well, if we already lost them, then what? Then we have nothing to lose.
Could be.
We want to make sure they have something to lose. We want to give them something that they're scared to lose.
If you have someone who was the highest rated show every weeknight who gets canceled from Fox and goes to Twitter and says, I'm going to take my platform to Twitter, and they welcome him, if he stays, I think you're right. I think that is like the measuring post. If he stays on there and can say whatever he wants.
At least
Yeah.
they'll give you an indication. At least a point, it shows you which direction they're pointed in. So, I mean, initially, like, remember, just last week or the week before, everybody was like partying that Tucker's coming to Twitter and it's the big deal and blah, 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 So, the audience is definitely fickle, but who knows what's actually going to happen. But there will be indications about which direction it's going to go in. And
Well, I also think that right now, as long as it is a beacon for free speech and we're able to speak, we have to stay there, because if you walk away based on what you think might happen, then we're not going to have spaces, you know? So we need those open spaces to talk. And if Tucker is there and we know how demonized he's been, then there's a chance that that's going to keep us all able to speak.
There's another thing that I kind of want to point out. I have noticed, and there's going to be people that are going to give me hate for saying this, but I have noticed that Brian Krasenstein has been better on Twitter.
Yes.
He has not been, I've seen some things and I'm like, he's actually posting something good. That's okay.
Why is
And
that happening?
I don't know for sure.
Because he's
but
learning. Because I think one of the big divides between the left and the right is the left believes fake news, and the right tends to look for tends to fact check. And so this is why leftist personalities don't go on other shows, because they get obliterated with fact checking. The Krasensteins got suspended. They lied about what they did. They were falsely accused of, I think, doing some weird stuff on Twitter, and they maintained that they had never done, but they got removed, I think, because they were generating too much influence outside of the DNC's control or the Democratic Party's control or the establishment. So they get banned, they get falsely accused, and then their attitude is like, were the conservatives right about why people are getting banned? Did some research, talked to more people, came back, said this was wrong, people shouldn't be banned for this, started going on other shows, and now they're probably realizing like, oh, that one thing wasn't true. Oh, that one thing wasn't true either. This is what happens to a lot of people. You can still be liberal and have liberal opinions. I don't mind that. I have liberal opinions. But if we agree on what's true because we fact checked it.
Yes.
There was something that happened recently. I can't remember what it was, and the Krasenstein said, "Guys, don't jump to conclusions." Oh, it was the profile that got released from the Allen, Texas shooter.
Yeah.
And Brian said something like, Just because the profile was found doesn't mean it actually is his profile. We need to wait for real confirmation on this. Like, just because it looks like it doesn't mean it's true. And I'm like, that's actually a really good point. Like, he's right. You know.
Do you think the Surfs guy is learning?
No.
Now that he's been on?
He's not capable.
He's not capable of learning.
Impossible.
Well, so he is. A really good example is when the guy from the Surfs tweeted, the right finally admits that their concern about grooming is indoctrinating kids into queer lifestyles, which they view as sexual. And it was funny that he referred to me as the right finally admitting, because it's like, bro, dude, my opinion is not conservative. Like, it is middle of the road, so it overlaps with some conservatives. And there were actually several times where he called me woke on the show, and I'm like, don't you get what centrist means? But anyway, he posted that. It means he is learning. But my response was, that's finally admitting? It's literally been our whole argument the entire time that you are indoctrinating kids into a political, cultural lifestyle that does have overt sexual connotations in it. He didn't know that. He did not know that.
Listen to good guy Tim over here. Got to get rid of the beanie and get the old good guy hat.
I'd like to think that the meth conversation was an aha moment.
I'm not getting the benefit of that. I'm saying the dude's completely ignorant. Oh, the meth thing, right?
Yeah, he was
like,
I see what you did there.
Well, I didn't say anything. Okay.
Oh, wait. Yes, I did see this clip with the baby.
Right. Because he was like, a woman can get an abortion whenever she wants. It's her body. It's her choice. Seamus asks, so as long as the baby's in her body, she can do whatever she wants to it. He's like, well, it's her body. It's her choice. And I go, what about meth? And then he was like, no, because that would be intentionally killing the baby. And I didn't try to insult him. I genuinely went, wait a minute. Because like, how can you say you can kill the baby whenever you want, but you can't do meth because it kills the baby whenever you want? I did not think he was going to say that, but he did. And I'm like, well, okay. And my response was, I don't understand what you're trying to say, because it makes no sense. And people called him out like, you have no formulated opinion on this. You're just regurgitating talking points.
We talked to someone the other day that said that this generation that's coming out of high school now, and for the last 5 years, they want to stand for a cause. And when asked what cause, they say, we don't really care. Just stand for a cause. And so it's very easy to stand for a cause and not fully understand it. I think that's what we're seeing.
Purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, for a long time in this country, people had purpose in faith, family, and community. That's mostly going away. No family, no neighbors, no faith. So young people are desperate for some reason to be alive, and they're not finding one. But now they're being given one: social justice.
If there's no God, then you have to create your own meaning.
Right.
Like man has to find his own meaning if there is no God. And a lot of people that are Gen Z and millennials are either atheists or they're agnostics. And without God, or without a God to say, this is what is moral, this is where, this is how you should live your life, man is really left with no actual foundation, right? So, and it's hard for people to make their own morality, because you have to have principle to have morality, and you have to have things that you believe are actually real. And if you don't see any reason for existing at all, what does any of it matter? So it's really black,
a cause you can stand for regardless of your religion or lack thereof, and it's save women's sports. Anybody can get on board with this one. It's a great cause to stand for.
All right. M. Maisall says, I'm the last of the boomers in my 50s. We are not all brain dead. Followed you from the beginning and will until I, quote, age out. Big fan, stay real. So age out is the polite way I say of passing on. I don't say like, my fear is that when the boomers age out, we're in deep trouble.
Yeah.
I like Gen X. They did a lot of really great work. A lot of the stuff I grew up watching. Boomers made Star Trek: The Next Generation, which is the best show ever. And so I'm deeply appreciative of that. But I think boomers did a lot of really good stuff. And they did a lot of bad stuff too. But I think, all the good stuff that influenced me, I'm a big fan of. And they vote better. They vote better than the younger generations. The younger generations are the fault of the old generations, of course. But my fear is that when the boomers are no longer voting, there's going to be a hard shift, boom, towards communist, weird Marxist policy.
You don't think people vote differently as they get older? I'm sort of hopeful that happens.
I do, but it's mostly because they have kids. And
now we just have everything. We're just gonna be watching our lives now, based on what you're telling me.
So my one hope, I suppose, is we may see a big shift leftward when the millennials may be a blip, a leftward spike in the voting patterns. When the boomers are no longer voting, when they pass on, when they age out, when they retire to the point where they're no longer involved, millennials are going to do a big spike leftward. But I'm hoping that because they abort all of their children, that there will be substantially less of leftists in the future. And look, I say it all the time. They never respond because they can't respond. I told Lance, the guy from the Surfs, I said, y'all are sterilizing and aborting your kids. I don't care. I'm not a conservative. I'm not one of these pro-life conservatives begging you to save your kids. I'm sitting here being like, no, go ahead, get rid of them. 50 years, it'll be a conservative Christian country. What do I care? And then their response is just stone-faced. I don't know what to say to that. It's true. You don't have kids. And like you point out, they say, we're coming for your kids. And I'm like, you're not going to win that fight. You're going to win some kids from some parents, but we're already seeing the backlash with Loudoun County. We're already seeing parents say no to the woke stuff in schools, and it's causing them to freak out. It's causing the FBI to call them terrorists because they're losing. So you give it 20 years, and there's going to be more conservative voters. You give it 40 years, exponentially more. You combine the fact that conservatives have more kids with liberals abort their kids, and it is just mathematically impossible for the left to win. So I'm just like, look, guys, we got to be vigilant. We got to stand up. We got to call it out to make sure they don't indoctrinate this crazy stuff into the kids. Other than that, we just wait. They're for abortions up to any point. It's politically correct for them to be. My response to them is, thank you for aborting your kids. You're making the future better. They never respond. And I'm waiting for them to. They just won't, because they don't want to bring up the political debate of we are excising ourselves from the country. So I'm like, okay, well, you're going to get conservatives who are pro-life being like, that's so horrible. No, we can't let them do this to the children. And my attitude is like, no, you're right. They shouldn't do it, but like politically it's out of my hands. So.
And I mean, to your point of how much can you control by government, that is the question that Republicans need to ask about the pro-life message. This is a culture issue. If you want to impact culture, you can celebrate the wins in the life movement. But if you think that you can change the minds of liberals and this control they have over this in an election, that's not how you're going to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll wrap it up here. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at timcast.com. It's an amazing Friday night. I hope you guys are having a good weekend already, chilling out, relaxing. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Tudor, do you want to shout anything out?
I just check out the podcast, Tudor Dixon Podcast. We would love to have you there.
Right on.
I am Phil Labonte, lead singer of All That Remains. I am Phil That Remains on Twitter. I am Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. And the band is All That Remains. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, all that stuff.
And you can find me on Twitter at TM Silverman or on Instagram at Taylor May Silverman. Shabbat Shalom and happy Mother's Day to all the moms.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy early Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can follow me at Kellen PDL, and Heineken's good, Tubi's good, but buy American beer. So go buy Yingling. You could probably order it online at this point. But
I only drink on vacation.
Fair enough.
I love you, Mom.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We will see you with clips throughout the weekend, and then we're back on Monday.